This book is for people who want to accomplish things, who want to understand how to work human beings, and it's the 48 Laws of Power. And if you're a little baby and you're whining and you're like, oh no, this is too mean, then don't listen to this episode. Oh, what up? All right, welcome back to the Sean Lowery Show. I'm here, and I'm talking about the book, The 48 Laws of Power. I don't have a guest today, and I've actually been really into this topic lately. I've been doing TikToks about it, which is, the cool new popular app TikTok. I'm doing 48 TikToks about the 48 Laws of Power, and I've just been really focusing on this book lately because I think it's so interesting. So it's a classic, but it was only written in 1998. So it's not one of those books that was written like 100 years ago, like The Art of War, but it's an instant classic. And so it's like a little blurb about it. It's a classic book on human psychology written by Robert Greene, who's still alive and kicking and doing podcasts. And most of the laws are undeniably true. But here's the interesting part about it, and the reason why I've been engaged in it. If you have any sense of morality, the book may leave you feeling a little uncomfortable. And so I consider myself a moral person, and ultimately I want to be good. Who doesn't want to leave a legacy on this world of being a good person? Like I do. But the people who accomplish great things, they don't just sit around and obsess over morals. On the TV show The Good Place, there's this character Chidi, and he ends up in hell because his whole life he spent reading ethic books, and he never actually made any decisions or did anything in life. So you can't sit around your whole life worrying about being a good person, but also if you're just evil, that's not going to work either. So I've been interested in this topic, and this book is right up the alley. And to be successful in life and in business, you have to properly navigate human psychology. I've never thought of myself as somebody who is obsessed with power just for the sake of power. Like, I'm better than you. I'm more powerful than you. But if you're going to run a successful organization made up of human beings, then you need to at least understand and respect these laws, because it really is about psychology. And that's why I'm so interested in studying this book, because I love the human psychology, and it's important for entrepreneurs, but really it's also important for anybody in their own environment who wants to have like a sense of control when it comes to dealing with others. And the book has been called the Psychopath's Bible. And I think that is such a funny nickname for a book. And if you Google it, if you Google the 48 Laws of Power, one of the first things that comes up, it says, is the 48 Laws of Power evil? So the author of the book, he says, I'm not evil. His name's Robert Greene. He says, I'm not evil. He says, I'm a realist. He said, I believe that I describe a reality that no other book tries to describe. So one thing about the book that surprised me, well, the first time I read it was probably 8 to 10 years ago. And it was just one of those popular books, like on the bestseller list for like entrepreneurship and business and understanding humans. And when I read it, I was like, damn, like this book is kind of dark. It definitely has some things in it that are dark. A lot of them are about kind of previous times in history. And a lot of them are about political power, and it's about having an enemy. And it's about having an enemy or a victim or somebody who is your arch enemy and how to approach that. So a lot of it is maybe for like generals in war, all along those lines. But what I did is I've been really into this book. Like I mentioned, I'm doing the TikToks. I'm breaking down each one. And I'm not going to cover and go through all 48 of them in this podcast. There's other YouTube videos that do that. And one thing that I did was I took an Excel sheet and I put all 48 laws and I broke them down between 3 different categories. Now, not all the laws are known to be true, and I'm trying to understand them all. I'm not judging any of them, but I took the 48 laws and I broke them down into 3 categories. And the categories that I broke them down into are, number 1 is basically the fucked up category, the immoral category. Number 2 is like the positive category. And number 3 is like the cool category. So like the fucked up ones, these are the reasons why the book is it evil? It's because these are basically things that you would never like teach kids. And when most people hear them right off the bat, you might think like, damn, like that's fucked up. And an example of one of these laws is, so number 14, it's pose as a friend work as a spy. It's just kind of like a dark piece of advice for like a self-help book. And so the second characteristic of the laws that I broke it down into are the positive laws. And these are ones that I believe are smart and good advice, but I also believe they're kind of moral, the opposite of immoral. For example, law number 9 is win through your actions, not through argument. And I believe that's a positive piece of advice. You know, what's the point of arguing with somebody and just like fighting back and forth? This law teaches you to control your emotions and not argue and just and win your argument through showing it through actions. And that's something that you would actually teach like a group of kindergartners. So there's some laws that are positive and are moral. And then the third section of are ones that I just think are plain cool. They're not evil and they're not like fundamentally positive things that you would teach kids. For example, law number 37 is to create compelling spectacles, which is kind of just like, you know, if you have a company speech, you want to have like a cool setting. If you have a podcast, you want to have a cool set. Just, you know, it's kind of like being slick and cool. And that's part of being a leader is that. So I broke them down. So there's 48 laws. Now, for my mathematical formula, 16 of them fall in the fucked up category, immoral. And that's 33% of the laws. To my calculation, 15 of them are positive. And that's about 32%. 12 of the laws, they fall into that cool category I was talking about. And there's also 5 laws that I can't place in any of these 3 categories. So they're not accounted for. But 33% of the laws are fucked up. 15% of the laws are positive. 12% are just cool. And like I said, I'm not going to go over all 48 laws, but I kind of picked a few that I like here in each category to just show an example of some of the things that this book portrays. So, all right. So the first thing is the most interesting part, and it's the immoral ones. So law number 7, get others to do the work for you, but take all of the credit. And if you think about this one a little more, it definitely sounds bad, right, when you hear it. If you think about it a little more, you can think of like if a business owner has employees, they do the work for them. But, I mean, you're paying them, and you are in like a contract that you both agree upon. But in the book, it talks about how Thomas Edison is known for inventing the light bulb. And he wasn't actually the one who invented the light bulb. It was his company. And his company like hired people, and he like fought people and forced people to try to figure things out. But now on this day in history, it's known as Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. So there's an example of something for get others to do the work for you, take the credit. I have that one like in the immoral category because when you hear it, it's like, ooh, it's kind of messed up. I think this one is one of the most like fucked up one out of all the laws. And it's protect your reputation at all costs. And that part's not bad, but it's the second part of it. So I'm actually going to read it right here from the excerpt in the beginning of the book. This is law number 5. So law number 5 is protect your reputation at all costs. But the messed up part is, so it says reputation is a cornerstone of power. Through reputation, you can intimidate and win. Meanwhile, learn to destroy your enemies' reputations by opening holes in their reputations. Then stand aside and let the public opinion hang them. So it's basically saying make up rumors and lies about your opponents and just screw up their reputations just for the sake of making them look bad. That is definitely done in politics, you know, attack ads. And it's definitely done in war too. Like, I mean, you want to make your opponent look bad in the eyes of the public. And it's just pretty fucked up, to be honest. Like, there's not many situations where you would say it's a good thing to, oh yeah, your opponent, yeah, just go make up a bunch of lies about them and rumors about them and just make them look terrible and then they'll be screwed. Because what are they gonna deny it? Like, so I think that is like one of the most fucked up laws, and it's interesting that is in this book because you definitely see it in modern day politics with attack ads and everything like that. And that's law number 5. Another one, so I think a lot of these laws kind of blend together a little bit. And on the bad side, on the immoral side, there's 3 laws that I think kind of run together on the same stream. And it's law number 27, which is play on people's need to believe in a cult-like following. Law number 32 is play to people's fantasies. And law number 43 is work on the hearts and minds of others. So I think they're all kind of related. And I think a lot of the laws kind of tie together. But the reason why this is kind of like in the negative and the immoral category, even though it might work, which all these laws are kind of proven to be natural parts of how humans' brains works. But it's about like the cult psychology. I remember in my freshman year in college, we had psychology class, and one of the things we learned about was the cult psychology. And it's basically playing on people who have low self-esteem, and you're giving them like absolute answers, and you're giving them like a sense of purpose, even though it's like a false sense of purpose. And it's negative. Like, you hear the word cult, you don't think of a positive thing. There's 3 laws out of the 48 laws that basically say play into people's natural human instinct to be part of a cult-like existence. So that's just not a positive thing. So those are some examples of like the fucked up laws in this book that you read them and you're just like, damn, I can't believe this is being read. They're written down by Robert Greene. And the author said he's not evil, but this is just human nature. And these are the 48 laws of power. And I said 16 out of the 48, I think on their face are fundamentally immoral in a way. And it doesn't mean I'm judging them. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to acknowledge them and implement them in some way throughout my business career. But it's crazy that this book is dark like that. So those are an example of some of the bad laws. But the book is not all bad. So the positive ones. These are some things that like I said in the beginning, you would teach kindergartners about. Law number 23. Concentrate your forces. This is something I've talked about forever, focusing on one thing, like putting all your energy toward accomplishing just one thing, being the best at one thing. That's an example of a good law that is about power, but it's also something that it's good to hear. And 28 is, it's one of my favorite ones actually. And it's raise your value through absence and scarcity. So it's basically like, I think it says in the book, you'd rather be the person where people are like, oh, where is he? Than the person that's like, oh, we got to get this guy out of here. He's always here. You don't want to like be there too much. And even with my company, like, I'm the boss. I have my employees over at the other building, and I try not to go over there too much. I try to make my appearances meaningful and valuable, and I don't want to be there all the time. And when you're a leader and you walk into the room, you want it to be meaningful. And something I think about is like, so Kanye West, one of my favorite people, like when he tweets, he'll take like 6 months with 0 tweets. And then usually around the time he's promoting an album, he'll start to tweet like all the time and like go off on a rant. And some people say it's like mental illness, but I'm more interested in those 6 months where he's not saying anything. And he's kind of in one of those stages right now. And I miss him. And it's the principle of show your absence and let people miss you. And that is one of the 48 laws of power. And that's one that I think is positive, that I like. It's, don't be there too much. Don't be annoying. Don't be overbearing. Be like, sparingly in your appearances and make them all valuable. So I like that one. That's number 27. That's number 28. Raise your value through absence and scarcity. Another one I like is number 10. And this is don't get infected by misery or misfortune. And it's basically stay away from people who have negative attitudes and have a sucky life. And it says like you might think that if someone is like down and being terrible, that you can be the person that helps them and you can be the positive force in their life. And maybe you can try that for like really close family members or brothers or sisters. But in general, as you're getting your inner circle and deciding who the people are going to be around you in your life, pick positive people. And I think that is a great rule. And that is one that I think is positive. And that's number 10. Don't get infected by misery and misfortune. Another one I like, number 4 of the 48 laws of power. Number 4, always say less than necessary. Always be the last one to talk. So it's kind of like just make the things you say impactful. Don't talk too much. Don't ramble too much. And just always say less than necessary. So there's some of the ones that I think are positive. And I think those are things that you would teach a group of kindergartners. So the book is not all bad. The next category of them is ones that I just think are cool. And here's some examples. Number 17, keep others in suspended terror. Now, that's the negative part, but it says cultivate an air of unpredictability. I like that. Be unpredictable. Just do something different. If you have to be really nice, really mean, doesn't matter. Just always be keeping people on your toes with unpredictability. I think that is a cool one. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's good. I just think it is. It's definitely one of the 48 laws of power because it's in the book, but it's kind of like cool. Just be unpredictable. Do something different. Number 37, create compelling spectacles that I could talk about. Just like think about when you walk into the room, what's it going to look like? How's it going to be? I think President Trump does good at this. He's always making sure he's got the cameras in the right place and the look right and the stand right and just making sure things like look good, that you portray a sense of power by having compelling spectacles. I like that one. That's number 37. Number 30 is make your accomplishments seem effortless. And I think that one's kind of cool because like it's just about like, you hear people campaigning for president and they're like, it's going to be easy. We're going to do it on day one. It's just kind of like, I got this. And that's why I put it in like the cool category. It's like, it's going to be easy. And I think it's an interesting one, but I like it. It's make your accomplishments seem effortless. I don't know, man. It's easy for me. Like it just comes natural. Number 34, be royal in your own fashion. Act like a king to be treated like one. I just think that's a fun one. I mean, if you're the boss of all your employees, if you have a nice house and a nice car, does that make them respect you more? And does that make if you have a boss, your boss for whatever your job is, would you rather have that boss be like raggedy and like poor and like rugged? Or would you rather have your boss be like, have nice things and like be looking well and be like well put together? Like, I think that if you want to be treated like a king, then you have to act like one to be treated like one. And that's this rule. And that falls under the cool category. So those are just some of the rules, and it shows the ones that are evil. And it's why the book is called the Psychopath's Bible. And I'm not judging. It's just, those are the human nature. And it shows the positive ones. So the book's not all negative, and it shows like the cool ones. And like I said, I'm not going through all 48, but those are just some of the laws that I used as examples. The most important rule, in my opinion, and these are all my opinions, the most important rule, I believe, is rule number 35, and it is master the art of timing. So I've noticed a lot of these rules are similar, and a lot of these rules actually contradict each other. For example, law number 15 is destroy and crush your enemies totally. And then law number 47 is don't go past the mark you aim for. In victory, know when to stop. Those two things counteract each other. So they're exact opposites. They contradict each other. And they're both valuable laws. They're laws of the 48, but knowing when to apply each of these things is kind of the art to it. So that's why I think number 35, it kind of sums everything up. It's the art of timing. Reading this book, understanding the laws of human nature, internalizing all of them. And I was watching an interview with the author, Robert Greene, and he's like, you're going to read this book, you're going to be shocked by some of these laws, you're going to like some of them, but ultimately you're going to understand them and internalize them. And then the skill comes and the practice comes when knowing the right time, when to kind of apply each of them. And in your brain, I don't know if you're going to be like, right now I'm using law number 14. It's just more about like understanding each of these things and the human nature of it. And that's why I think the art of timing is the most important out of all of them, because you have to know when to apply each rule. So honestly, like, everybody who wants to accomplish something in life, I think they should read and understand this book. And I've been talking about this book a lot lately. One, because I'm doing the TikToks and having fun with it. But also because I've been interested and I've been thinking about the art of balancing being a nice person and being a mean person. It's something I've talked about on my live Drink and Grow Rich show. something that I think about often, because as you run a company, you can't be the nicest guy ever and have everyone walk all over you and let people do whatever you want and never fire anyone and be super nice. But you also can't be a complete dick and just treat everyone like shits and they're going to hate you. So it's a constant art that you have to practice. And I think this book kind of helps shape and think about the path in between being too nice and too mean. And when you think about it and you think about the human nature of it, it helps you not think of it in a nice and a mean spectacle, but just how to accomplish things and how to work well in a society, in a group of people. And I think this book just helps break down the complicated world of human psychology, and when it comes to controlling organizations. And also, if you're not controlling an organization, just being able to control the individual people around you and persuade them towards accomplishing what you want. If you're not that interested in running a company, but you just want to get your 8 friends to go to the same restaurant, you can apply some of these principles that come in the book. So the other thing is, by understanding these 48 laws and reading this book, you will be less likely to be swindled and tricked by somebody else applying these to you. So it just makes you a smarter person by reading the book, The 48 Laws of Power. And I'm on a little phase of it right now. I'm doing the TikToks, I'm reading the book, doing this podcast about it, and I'm very curious in all your guys' opinions about it. I think everyone should read it or listen to it on an audio book or watch YouTube videos about it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So let me know your thoughts. And if you made it this far in the podcast, hey, give me an iTunes review, give me a like or a subscribe. But I really appreciate everyone listening. And yeah, this has been fun. And we'll be back next week with some guests and some more interesting topics. So I appreciate you guys listening, and peace out.